Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm sorry, the kids are going to be knocking on that door any second now because they're going to be waking up, and I'm just warning you. And who else is having the time of their life with their children? If you got young children in your house and you're stuck in there with them, I'm sorry because I'm going through the same thing. Last night we went through cornerbacks, and I'll go through that at the end. But I want to talk about a couple of things. One, a report came out yesterday that the Redskins chased Amari Cooper all the way to the bitter end. And I'm like, well, that's one of those signings when it's a twofold signing. It's kind of like the Deion Sanders signing when we signed Deion Sanders. It was not only did we want that good player that was helping our team, yada, 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 all that kind of stuff. We wanted to make sure none of our enemies got Deion Sanders. Well, the Redskins aren't really an enemy that hadn't posed a serious threat. But if you give them a receiver like Amari Cooper, along with their running game, along with their defense, and what Ron Rivera is going to do up there, he has pieces that I just don't think their coaching staff. I think their coaching staff was as bad as our coaching staff, really. Probably worse than our coaching staff. And but they got talent there in the Redskins. So it's a good thing that Amari Cooper did not go to them. He came to us. That makes me feel a lot better about the signing. But you know what? I really was not worried about the signing because once we got Amari Cooper, I had envisioned Amari Cooper being with us until he's like 28 or 29. And that's cool with me. You know, how old is he now? 24? And it's a 4-year contract, something like that. So that's perfect with me. We're going to get the prime Amari Cooper. What happens after this contract? What happens after this contract? I don't care. The thing about it is Gallup. Gallup is our problem now, because if Gallup puts up numbers like Cooper did last year, then nothing is going to stop Gallup from asking for the same amount of money that we gave Cooper, which we cannot do. We cannot do. So it's like you have to protect yourself with that. That's why I want to go wide receiver first round, because if we go wide receiver first round, then we have 3 killer wide receivers that can get up in you, and then secondly, we have another guy there for Gallup if Gallup leaves to greener pastures. They're talking about greener pastures. If he does that, then we have another solid number 2 to put with Amari, and then we can find a slot or have Pollard at slot or things whatever we're going to do at slot. So I'm good with that. It just puts us in a situation with Michael Gallup. We want Gallup to be as successful as we think he's going to be, being another 1,000-yard receiver. But I'm telling you, if he has back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, one of them, I'm almost sure he outperformed Amari Cooper last year. If he does it again this year, then you can wave bye-bye to Michael Gallup. Talking about wide receivers, Dez and Dak, I hadn't talked to you about that. I'm kind of keeping it low. I have no problem with Dez Bryant coming back. I just want him to be back to where he can actually help us. I don't think he's going to be a deterrent on the football team. I had issues with Dez, but it was mostly the younger Dez. You know what I'm saying? And then he did say a lot of things. Snake Lee is still there. He did say a lot of things on Twitter. But if Dez comes back and he can be limited to a third or fourth receiver, because there's no way he's going to go in front of Gallup at all. If he can be limited to that third receiver and he still has the skills he had before. If you remember me, I used to please put Dez in the slot. There's nobody can stop Dez in the slot. So if he's close to the Dez as before, which we don't know because it's been a long time since Dez has actually played, then we have something. So yes, we're all hopeful on that, but we have to temper ourselves. I'd personally, I'd rather have a young killer like Henry Ruggs III or somebody like that out of the draft than to try to get an older receiver, because that usually doesn't work. All right, let me quickly go over the cornerbacks. I am not a fan of getting a cornerback in this draft. I'm not in love with any of them except for one. The rest of them are good, but we don't know how good they're going to be. They could be better than what we have with Cheeto and Jordan Lewis. They could not be as good as we have with Jordan Lewis. But the thing about what we need, to be honest, we need one more corner on the level of Cheeto and Jordan Lewis at least, and better than Anthony Brown. That's the slot we're looking for to put another corner there. Where do you get that guy? You might have to get that guy in the first round, which makes me like uneasy because I don't want to spend that much money, that much draft capital on a corner that's just not that much better than the corners we have, especially when you can get a receiver to do what I just said. You can get this is the draft where you can get, and tonight we're doing offensive tackles. This is a draft that you can get an offensive tackle maybe in the second or third round that would be in the first round in other drafts. So, we can do some things with that first round pick that will immediately boost our football team rather than getting the corners to throw back there with the other guys. You know what I'm saying? So I hope we can do our due diligence because I know there's some like third and fourth rounders that are graded out near a second and first rounder, bottom of the first rounder. So we've been excellent at doing that. Jordan Lewis fell. You know what I'm saying? I think Cheeto fell a little bit as well. So we've been good at that. If we can get our cornerbacks at that stage, at that level of the draft back there, I'm really good with it. But pass rusher, for instance, if Chasen falls to us, grab him because that's a pass rusher. You know what I'm saying? And the pass rushers make your corners a lot better. So that's the mentality I would like to go. Just keep building up that defensive line and making that defensive line monsters and have real good quality players back there. Not Jeffrey Okudah. You know, that's the one corner I love. But I'm telling you about Jeffrey Okudah. He's going to be drafted in the top 5. Now, if he came to Dallas and he had a good year, you know how we pump up our players. If he had a good year, then his stock is going to skyrocket like Byron Jones did out of our price range in one contract, that rookie contract. He will be a Jalen Ramsey. You know what I'm saying? When the Jaguars couldn't pay Jalen Ramsey because he was the best corner in the league and yada 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 now and all that kind of stuff, so they had to let him go. And I don't want to be in that position where you spend a top whatever pick, because we'd have to go all the way up to get him. We'd have to spend a lot of capital, go up and get him, and then it'd all be gone in 5 years. Nah, not gonna like that. The other corners who are good, but I think I've said before, I feel like the NFL reaches for the pass rusher and the cornerback and the first round of the draft almost every year. So I feel like Chasen is going to be grabbed early. I feel like all these corners are going to be drafted. All these corners are going to be drafted early. You got Christian Fulton, you got C.J. Henderson, and you got Trayvon Diggs. All those 3 guys I really, really, really like. Really like. C.J. Henderson looks like clay. Like he's a guy that coaches would want because he does things you just can't coach. Trayvon Diggs has that size and he has the swag that his brother Trayvon Diggs. So he's he's reportedly 6'3". I've seen 6'2" and 6'3". 6'3", 215 pounds at corner. That's just nasty. That's just right there. So those guys I really love, but again, those guys have special talents, and a lot of times people will reach in the draft for special talents. Again, though, if they reach for those 4 corners before 17, and they reach for those 3 wide receivers before 17, and Brown, and all the other players and the quarterbacks is going to go, we will have something very good to just fall in our laps that we really need. We'll have something to fall in our laps, and we'll take it. Tonight, one of those positions, offensive tackle. Right now, they have 4 offensive tackles mocked to go before us. Again, that's 4 offensive tackles, 4 cornerbacks, 3 wide receivers. That's a lot of players that's supposed to go before 17. So if one of those offensive tackles comes down and is there, or if we can get one of the other offensive tackles in this draft that is just rich in, that would be a first rounder in another draft to stash behind Tyron, and because Tyron didn't grade nearly as good as Lyle last year. So we don't know what's going on right there. We hope he comes back and becomes the dominant player that he used to be. But something's going on right there that we need to pay attention to with our offensive line. All right, guys, that's all tonight. Again, the live show's coming, and tonight we're doing offensive tackles, and I'm actually very excited because there's some monsters. There's some players that's going to be in the league for a long time. All right, guys, see you tonight. Be safe out there. Mask up, bro. All right, holla.